How much equity do you need to buy a property in Germany? Hi everyone, my name is Hans. I have bought 8 apartments now in Germany. And in this video, I will tell you all about how much equity you need to bring along to finance and thus buy a house or an apartment over here in Germany. So there are usually 3 types of investors. First, there are the ones who don't have much equity. Second, there are the people with a reasonable amount of equity. That means they have at least 9 to 12 months of their incomes as savings. And then the third group are the people who have a lot of equity. And I will go into these cases one by one. But first, how much does the bank usually require you to bring along as equity? And that is in Germany roughly between 10 to 15% of the overall purchase price. Now here in Germany, we talk about the sort of side costs, which are the notary costs, other administrative fees which you have to purchase upfront whenever you buy a new apartment or house. The notary fees accumulate to roughly 2%. Then you have the purchasing taxes, which depend on the state where you're investing in, which can be anywhere between 3.5% to 6.5% in Germany. So overall, I'd say the bare minimum you would have to bring along is at least 10 to 15%.
Wow.
And I usually, when I invest in my properties, I bring along at least 15%, sometimes even more than that, to be able to push down my interest, which I have to pay on the loan. But more on that later. So let's first talk about the first group, people who don't have much equity. Then the next question would be, do you have enough income to be able to still get the loan from the bank? If that's the case, there's a good chance that you can still get a loan, but you could also think about just waiting a bit more time to save up more money. But to make that decision, you really have to look into the different offerings from the bank and compare different interest rates. Now, at the moment, we have a rather high interest level compared to especially the last 2 to 3 years, for example, and you pay roughly 4% of interest to your local bank. And if you have a bargain that the bank says is attractive from their valuation perspective, you still might be able to finance a home. In any case, it makes sense to explore the market and at the same time save money. Because sooner or later, you will want to have your own home. And particularly when you know the market, you can strike a good deal when you see one. The second group of people are the ones with a reasonable amount of equity. For example, who have roughly 15% of the home purchasing price. Usually that is in a year of income or 2. And now it gets to the sweet spot, because the more equity you bring in, the lower the interest rate is. For example, and I get this a lot whenever I talk with my banks, if I bring in an additional 10%, the interest rates drop by like 0.5%. So that's really much if you calculate that up all the way through. And with this less interest, which you then have to pay, you can put it into other investments, for example. And in this process, you really have to compare the different interest rates you're being offered and the different loans which the banks give to you. And this is sort of a matter of a sweet spot, which you have to find out yourself. Because at some point, it also doesn't make sense to put in much more money. And for this, you really have to be in a discussion with your local bank dealer or mortgage financing company. And now the third group that we have are the lucky ones, the people with a lot of equity who may have saved a lot during their lifetime already. And often they want to put all of their money into that one apartment or house or property or whatever. Then what do I say? Well, not so quick. What is driving people to put in all of their money into that one single investment? It is often the fear of debt or the fear of stocks. And what is the fear of debt, you may ask? The fear that you may not be able to repay your loan and thus your debt at some point. And I see that a bit different. I see debt as being risky, especially if you have bad financing conditions, but debt can also be helpful and really positive for you in the long term if you use it wisely. Now, if you have a mortgage, your interest rate is usually fixed for 10 years here in Germany. You can get it for less years. You can also increase the duration. You can also fix it for like 15 to 20 years, but that's usually not the case here in Germany. And within those 10 years, you usually pay down between 20 or 30% of the overall loan. And what you also have to consider is that your income usually also increases over time whenever you reach the next career step, for example, but also due to inflation. And that means that your debt ratio to income is usually reduced to a rather small amount. And that's why you can also afford more risk. And then, as I said, there's also the fear of stocks. There are a lot of people who have no experience in investing in stocks. And when they look at stocks, they see the volatility and the bad news about it and the restlessness. However, you also have to consider that the stocks are usually broadly diversified. You don't put your money into one single egg, as they call it in the investment sphere, but also that it's sort of diversified across markets, across industries usually. And that is something you can achieve also with an ETF, for example. But let's stick to real estate and apartments and houses and so on. So again, what you need to consider is time. Over time, your loan or your mortgage reduces, you pay off that loan over the next couple of years, and I would say that there's actually only a rather minimal chance that you actually lose money whenever you invest in properties. Also, what I would like to briefly discuss is the difference in return you can achieve compared stocks to real estate. If you have stocks, for example, your return is usually between 6 to 8% per year. However, if you invest in real estate, you can get a return on investment of anywhere between 20 and even 50%. That is due to the hedge which you obtain when financing your real estate and not putting in as much equity as you would, for example, with stocks, where you put in always 100% of your own money. However, when you invest in real estate, you put in a lot less money of your own money. As I said before, mostly between 10 to 15 or 20%. And due to this hedge of using not only your own money, but also the bank's money, you can achieve a way higher return on investment for yourself. Now, I hope you found this video helpful. If you do have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. And also make sure to subscribe to this channel and tune in for the next video. See you guys soon. Take care. Bye.